Welcome back to the Wasteland. My name does not matter, but my story does. This is the complete account of what happened to every single state in America when the bombs fell, and in the 200 years since. The full truth that nobody wants to admit. You think you know the Wasteland. You have seen the ruins. You have fought the raiders. You have scavenged the vaults. But do you know what happened to Alabama? To Arkansas? To the 30 states that history erased so completely, we do not even have stories about them anymore. Do you know which states thrived under Caesar's brutal legion? Which ones the Brotherhood carved up for themselves? Which ones simply vanished into silence? This is not a happy story. This is a confession from someone who has walked across the entire country and seen what we lost. 50 states, 300 million people, all of it burned to ash on October 23, 2077. Some places rebuilt. Some places are still fighting. Most places are just gone. And what rose from the ashes is stranger and darker than you can imagine. And if you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if it truly resonates with you. They told me to keep quiet about what I found. The old Brotherhood scribe in the Montana bunker, the one with the burn scars covering half his face. He grabbed my wrist so hard I thought the bone would snap. He said some truths are better left buried with the old world, but I've been carrying this weight for too long now. I have walked across what is left of this country. I have seen things that would make you understand why silence feels like cowardice. My name does not matter anymore. What matters is that I was there when they opened the sealed archives in Vault Zero. I was there when we pulled the data cores from the half-melted servers in the switchboard. I know what happened to every corner of this country when the bombs fell on October 23rd, 2077, and I know what came after. Let me start where it all began to end. Alaska, that frozen hell where America and China tore each other apart for the last drops of oil left in the ground. For almost 10 years they fought in those mountains. I met a ghoul once in Anchorage, or what is left of it. She remembered the day the Chinese invaded in 2066. She was 12 years old. She watched her father march off in his National Guard uniform. She never saw him again. The war dragged on for years. Trench warfare in the ice, chemical weapons that turned the snow black. Then came the power armor, the T-51s that could shrug off bullets like raindrops. By early 2077, the Americans had pushed the Chinese back to the sea. They thought they had won. 2 weeks later, the world ended. Anchorage is just craters now. Radiation hot enough to cook you from the inside out, but people still live there. The Brotherhood moved in, according to the old tactics records. They took over the missile silos and satellite stations. They enslaved the locals. They call them recruits, but we both know what that word really means when you have a gun to your head. The Inuit tribes fight back when they can. Most just try to survive. Move south and you hit Washington State. Seattle still stands somehow. The Space Needle reaching up through the overgrowth like a skeletal finger. The city is buried in snow and vines now. North of there, a tribe called the Issaquah Nation rose up in the ruins. They have these warriors, the Hawkman Braves. Violent, expansionist. They want to carve out an empire in the Pacific Northwest. And under Mount St. Helens there is a vault. Vault 6, I read the experiment logs. They released small doses of radiation into the vault every single day, just to see what would happen to the people inside. I do not want to think about what they found when they finally opened those doors. Oregon fared better than most. The Brotherhood set up shop there too, Fort Willamette, west of Portland. They occupy old army warehouses and munitions plants. The area around Mount Hood became home to small settlements, farmers mostly, Brahmin herders, and somewhere in that region, a resistance group called the Cause fights back against Brotherhood occupation. They call them terrorists. I call them people who remember what freedom used to mean. Further south, in what used to be southern Oregon, there is a town called Arroyo, founded by a vault dweller who got kicked out of Vault 13 for saving everyone inside. His descendant, the one they call the Chosen One, used a geck to turn Arroyo into something real. By 2281, it was a proper city, part of the NCR now. One of the success stories. There are not many of those. Idaho is wilderness, empty, hostile. When the Great Khans got driven out of the Mojave by the NCR, the survivors fled north into Idaho. Most of them died in that wilderness. The few who made it through scattered like ash in the wind. Nobody talks about Idaho much. That should tell you something. Montana has Brotherhood presence. I know because I have been there. Elder Petalus runs a bunker somewhere in those mountains. The lonesome drifter I met in the Mojave told me stories about growing up there, working coal mines at 15 years old, his mother working her fingers to bone just to keep them fed. Montana is hardscrabble survival. No grand cities, no factions fighting over territory, just people trying not to freeze or starve. Sometimes both. Wyoming might surprise you. It is not empty. If you convince Papa Khan to break with Caesar and seek his own destiny, the great Khans migrate there. They reconnect with the followers of the apocalypse. They build something new. An empire carved from the ruins of the Northwest. It takes decades, but they do it. They remember who they used to be and become something better. That is what the reports say anyway. I want to believe that. I need to believe that somewhere in this wasteland, people can still build instead of just destroy. Colorado holds one of the strangest places I've ever heard of. Vault Zero, near Cheyenne Mountain. They did not just store people there. They stored brains. Literal human brains, extracted from the greatest minds of pre-war America and frozen. Hooked up to a supercomputer called the calculator. It was supposed to design the perfect post-war society. Instead, it went insane. By 2197, it was churning out robots from the factories in Buena Vista, sending them out to reshape the wasteland according to its twisted logic. The Brotherhood of Steel fought a war against a mad computer. That is the world we live in now. Then there is Denver. They call it Dogtown now. Packs of feral dogs roam the streets by the thousands. The salvagers set up camps high in the skyscrapers, the only safe places left. There used to be a tribe there called the Hangdogs. They worshipped dogs, domesticated them. Then Caesar came. Between 2077 and 2281, the legions swept through and broke them. Took years and cost thousands of lives, but Caesar does not accept failure. The hangdogs who survived were forced into the legion as houndmasters. Their culture, their identity, everything that made them who they were, all of it fed into Caesar's war machine. Utah is complicated. Salt Lake City took 13 direct nuclear hits. 13. The city burned for days. When the fires finally died, there was nothing left but craters and ash. But north of the city, in Ogden, the Mormons who survived began to rebuild. They founded New Canaan. For decades it thrived, a beacon of civilization in the wasteland. Then Caesar sent the Whitelegs to destroy it in 2281. They butchered everyone they could find. Only 30 people escaped. Joshua Graham, the burned man himself, was one of them. He and Daniel led the survivors into the canyons. They trade with other tribes now. They are rebuilding, but New Canaan is gone. Just another name on the list of places that used to mean something. The rest of Utah is tribal territory. The 80s, the Sorrows, the Dead Horses, the Whitelegs. Raiders and peaceful communities existing side by side, separated by canyons and mutual distrust. The Legion claims to control Utah, but that is Caesar's propaganda. Large parts of the state are still wild, still free, still fighting. Nevada, Las Vegas, New Vegas. However you want to say it, that city is the jewel of the wasteland. Robert House saw the missiles coming and shot most of them down with his defense systems. The city survived mostly intact. For decades, it was run by tribals and raiders. Then House woke up from his coma, made a deal with the NCR, and turned 3 tribes into casino runners. The chairman, the Omertas, the White Glove Society. By 2281, New Vegas is an island of light in an ocean of darkness. The NCR and Caesar fight over it like dogs over a bone. Neither understands that House has been playing a longer game than either of them can imagine. North of Vegas, Vault City exists. Built by Vault 8 using a GEC, it is a high-tech fortress city. They have clean water, electricity, and enough smugness to choke a deathclaw. Just north of them, Gecko Town sits on a leaking nuclear power plant. Ghouls run the place. The radiation seeping into the groundwater makes everyone in the area sick, but nobody has the caps or the tech to fix it. Further north, New Reno, City of Sin, run by crime families. The Mordinos, the Bishops, the Wrights. Further still, Broken Hills. Humans, super mutants, and ghouls living together in an old mining town. It works somehow, for a while at least. What do you think really happened here? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I would like to know if I am the only one who feels this way about how far we have fallen. California, the birthplace of the new California Republic. It all started in Shady Sands, a small settlement founded by Vault 15 survivors. By 2189, it had grown into the capital of something bigger, a real government with laws and elections and all the trappings of the old world. The NCR spread across California like wildfire. They absorbed Junktown, the hub, Modoc, New Reno eventually. They pushed into Nevada. They claimed the Boneyard, the ruins of Los Angeles, San Francisco, Redding, Necropolis, the old city of Bakersfield, now populated entirely by ghouls. But California also holds some of the most irradiated places on Earth. The Glow, a former West Tech research facility that took a direct hit. The radiation there is so intense it will kill you in minutes without protection. And the Divide, that place haunts my nightmares, used to be a courier route near the Nevada border. Then someone, and the stories vary on who, triggered the warheads still sitting in the underground silos. The entire area tore itself apart. Radioactive storms, dust storms that can strip flesh from bone, tunnelers burrowing up from below. The Divide is proof that we are still finding new ways to destroy ourselves 200 years after the bombs fell. The Brotherhood of Steel started in California too, Lost Hills, shortly after the Great War. Captain Roger Maxson, seeing what the government had become, declared it dead and formed a new order, an order dedicated to preserving technology and protecting humanity from itself. Noble goals. The execution has been mixed at best. Arizona belonged to raiders and tribals until Caesar arrived. Raoul, an old ghoul I met, told me it used to be so thick with raiders you could not travel 2 miles without getting attacked. Then the Legion came. They wiped out the raider tribes, enslaved the rest. By 2281, Caesar claims complete control of Arizona. The hangdogs, the painted rock, tribe after tribe broken and absorbed. Flagstaff is his capital. Phoenix still stands, but nobody knows in what condition. The Legion does not talk about its cities much. It prefers to let its reputation for brutality do the talking. The Legion controls more than just Arizona. All of New Mexico, parts of Colorado and Utah. 87 tribes conquered or assimilated. Caesar stripped them of their identities and forged them into a weapon. The Legion is not a nation. It is an army with territory. The people who live there are not citizens. They are subjects. But here is the thing that nobody wants to admit. It works. The roads are safe. The water flows. Food is adequate. Crime is almost non-existent. You give up everything. Your freedom, your voice, your individuality, and in return, you get stability. For some people, that is an easy trade. For others, it is a nightmare. Texas is chaos. After the Master fell in 2161, a super mutant named Attis gathered survivors and fled there. He continued the Master's work, trying to cure mutant sterility. The Brotherhood followed. Head Paladin Rhombus led an expedition in 2208. They took over an old prototype vault and made it their base. Then they spread to Fort Worth, to the town of Alamo. Texas has settlements now. Carbon, a farming community. Los, a ghoul city. Lukin, another small town. Lenora, built on the ruins of Abilene, serves as a trading hub. Austin survived the war, but is overrun with super mutants and mutated plant life. The state is a patchwork of Brotherhood outposts, raider gangs, ghoul cities, and desperate survivors. Nobody controls Texas. They just fight over pieces of it. Oklahoma is a ghost, red dirt and silence. The only proof anyone ever lived there comes from a rejection letter found in a Vault-Tec facility. Someone from Springville applied for vault space and got told to try Oklahoma, or newly annexed Canada, instead. That tells you there was at least one vault there. Whether anyone made it inside before the bombs fell, I do not know. Chief Hanlon mentioned red oaky centuria being called to the Mojave. Red oaky. Oklahoma dirt is red because of the iron in the soil. That name suggests the Legion recruited there at some point, or conquered. With Caesar, those words mean the same thing. Louisiana exists in fragments. Initiate Ellison of the Brotherhood told me he was born there. Barely remembers it. His family moved to West Virginia when he was young. That means Louisiana had people after the war, settlements, communities, but no major factions ever claimed it. No grand cities rose from the ashes. It is just another place where people survive day to day, hoping tomorrow will not be the day the raiders come. Arkansas might as well not exist for all the information available. Not a single mention in any terminal I have accessed. Not one holotape. Not one survivor's account. The silence is deafening. Either everyone died and nobody cared enough to remember, or the people there kept their heads down so well that history forgot them. I do not know which is worse. Mississippi has army supply yards. I found references in terminal entries at Fort Strong. Launcher equipment shipped ahead to a supply yard there before the bombs dropped. That means military infrastructure. Probably got hit hard during the Great War. There is also a pre-war story about a girl from a small town in Mississippi. Fiction, probably. But fiction needs a foundation of truth to feel real. Someone remembered Mississippi well enough to set a story there. That is something. Tennessee makes mugs. Or they did. One of the ladies' auxiliary members mentioned mugs in stock at a corner store made in Tennessee. That is it. That is all I know. They made mugs in Tennessee, and someone in Appalachia bought them before the world ended. I am telling you this because even these tiny scraps of information matter. They prove people lived. They worked. They made things. Then October 23rd came and most of them died. Alabama is a blank space on the map. Nothing. No mentions. No records. No stories. 30 million people lived in the American South before the war. Now I cannot tell you what happened to a single one of them in Alabama. The silence is its own kind of horror. Georgia has humidity. That is what Jenny Brown from the retreat said. The humidity in Appalachia reminds her of Georgia. She lived there once, survived there. A factory foreman in Fallout 4 mentioned beginning his military career in Georgia. Atlanta was a major city, home to millions. There is a baseball card that lists Atlanta, Georgia, as a player's hometown. These fragments suggest Georgia survived in some form. People still live there, but no major faction has claimed it. No vaults are documented there. It is just another forgotten corner of the wasteland. Florida is strange. The Midwest Brotherhood battled something called the Mutant Liberation Army there. Irradiated gas got released. The entire region became infested with mutant plants and fungi that actively hunt people. Mutated crocodiles in the swamps that make deathclaws look friendly. Paladin Romani, the one who led the Brotherhood expedition into Appalachia, was spotted doing trapeze acts in Florida, according to a bartender. I do not know what to make of that. Florida has always been weird. The Carolinas are shadows. Mullins, South Carolina manufactured MREs found in the Lonesome Road. Lee Rapid Pharmaceuticals in Charlotte, North Carolina, made the health dispensers used in the Anchorage simulation. That means these cities had factories running right up until the bombs fell. The Museum of Technology mentions Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, as the site where the Wright brothers first flew. The plaques still remember, but I cannot tell you if anyone still lives in the Carolinas. I cannot tell you if the cities still stand, or if they are just radioactive holes in the ground. Virginia. Northern Virginia specifically. That is Capital Wasteland territory. Towns like Andale, Fort Independence, Tenpenny Tower, Little Lamplight. Jack Smith in Andale claims the Commonwealth of Virginia lives on in his little community. He says they voted themselves a new governor. The delusion would be funny if it was not so sad. Lacey and Isabella came from Virginia. They describe it as a dangerous place. Lots of hot zones. The livable spots picked clean fast. They say Appalachia is better, and that should tell you everything about how bad Virginia has gotten. The naughty nightwear found in Fallout 3 was tailored in Virginia. That is the kind of detail that sticks with you. Someone made sexy pajamas in Virginia before the world ended. It seems absurd until you remember that people were still trying to live normal lives, even as the war machine ground everything to dust around them. Washington, D.C. took multiple direct nuclear strikes. The city is rubble, irradiated rubble. Super mutants nest in the ruins. Raiders fight over territory. The Brotherhood of Steel, or the Lions chapter anyway, set up in the Pentagon. They call it the Citadel now. By 2277, the Brotherhood was fighting a losing war against the super mutants pouring out of Vault 87. Then, the Lone Wanderer came along and changed everything. Got Project Purity running, clean water flowing into the wasteland. For the first time in 200 years, people could drink without worrying about rads. Small victories matter when you are drowning in defeat. You can still visit the landmarks. The Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Capitol Building, all of them scarred and broken, but still standing. Monuments to a country that does not exist anymore. Sometimes I think that is all we are now. Monuments to something dead. Maryland holds more of the Capital Wasteland. Canterbury Commons, the Republic of Dave, Oasis, Paradise Falls. The slavers at Paradise Falls used to ship their product across the wasteland until the Lone Wanderer shut them down, or joined them. Depends on which story you believe. The free radicals in Appalachia came from the Western Maryland Correctional Facility, prisoners who walked out when the guards did not come back after the bombs fell. Point Lookout sits on the Maryland coast. The bombs never hit it directly, but the Potomac River carried radiation from DC straight into the swamps. Over 200 years, the locals mutated into something called the swamp folk, inbred, violent, barely human anymore. Desmond Lockhart mentioned how his rival's family used to own half of Maryland back when there was a Maryland to own. Past tense, always past tense. Adams Air Force Base is in Maryland too. The Enclave used it as a major base until the Brotherhood destroyed it in 2277. The mobile base crawler was there, a massive machine that could launch vertibirds and orbital strikes. The Brotherhood took it down and broke the Enclave's power on the East Coast. For a while, West Virginia got lucky. No major strategic targets, no big cities to nuke. The radiation drifted in from elsewhere, but the state itself remained mostly intact. That does not mean it was safe. The scorched plague killed almost everyone who survived the bombs. a mutagenic plague from deep in the earth, spread by scorch beasts. By 2082, entire towns were empty. Charleston, the capital, survived the nukes only to get destroyed by the Summersville Dam breaking. A raider named David Thorpe used a mini-nuke on the dam just to watch the city drown. But West Virginia is coming back. Vault 76 opened in 2102. The residents went out to reclaim Appalachia. By 2105, Wastelanders from Pennsylvania and Maryland are moving in. The Brotherhood established a presence. Raiders set up at the crater, settlers at Foundation. It is not civilized. It is barely stable. But people are trying. 6 vaults are in that state alone, more than almost anywhere else. Pennsylvania is complicated. The TV broadcast at the start of Fallout 4 confirmed Pennsylvania took direct nuclear strikes. Philadelphia got hit. The city of brotherly love is a crater now, though Abraham Washington mentioned funding an expedition to bring back the Liberty Bell. Yasmin Chowdhury, a chef in Fallout 76, claims she was born and raised in Philadelphia, went to culinary school there. Either she is lying or parts of the city survived. I want to believe the latter. Pittsburgh is different. The Pit. The raiders there call it the Pit. It was a major industrial center for steel production. The Chinese targeted it specifically. Multiple nuclear strikes, but not direct hits. The warheads mixed with the industrial pollution from the steel mills and created something new. A unique environmental hazard that slowly poisons everyone who lives there. By 2255, the Brotherhood of Steel passed through and nearly wiped out the raider gangs. Nearly. One Brotherhood initiate named Ishmael Asher stayed behind with his raiders and rebuilt. By 2277, the Pit had become a major power through slave labor and steel production. The Enclave had their main East Coast base at Raven Rock, hidden in the Pennsylvania mountains. That was their command center until the Lone Wanderer destroyed it. Pennsylvania has history, blood-soaked radioactive history. Delaware is invisible. Not one mention. Not one reference. Either everyone died or nobody who survived ever left. New Jersey has Atlantic City. It got lucky, no direct nuclear strike, but the bombs elsewhere caused massive flooding. Waves crashed into the city at high speeds, smashing shipping vessels into the coastline. Water reached the 2nd floor in the city center. The inland areas stayed dry. By 2105, Atlantic City has a functioning government. They run the entertainment industry, gambling, chems. They have money. But the pine barrens are producing something new. Ambulatory mutated plants, walking flora that hunt people. It is spreading toward the city. Nobody knows how to stop it. A New Jersey license plate can be found in the Big Empty in New Vegas if you have the Wild Wasteland trait. Cut in half, attached to an abandoned military truck. I think about that plate sometimes. Someone drove that truck from New Jersey to the Mojave. Probably military. Probably died when the bombs fell. The plate survived. The person did not. If you have ever wondered what choice you would make in a situation like this, tell me in the comments. I will be reading them. New York City took a direct hit. 17 million people lived there. The main reactor nearly melted down. The TV broadcast confirmed it. Washington, D.C., New York, Philadelphia, Boston, all hit in the first wave at 9:42 a.m. Eastern Time. Dean Domino in the Sierra Madre claimed he performed in New York before the war. Johnny Weston said he was a failed actor living on the streets there when the bombs dropped. If that is true, parts of the city survived. Initiate Dresden recorded a holotape about flying over large cities with tall buildings on their way to Boston. Some nearly clipped the Prydwen. She mentions New York specifically. Skyscrapers still standing, occupied by mutants and freaks now. During early development of Fallout 4, New York was discussed as a possible location. They decided against it. Too big, too complicated. So New York exists in this strange limbo. We know it got hit. We know parts survived. We do not know what lives there now. Connecticut lost Monroe, a small town. Gilbert Hobson lived there with his wife Millie. Lovely place, he said. Bicycle trails and local breweries. Then the radiation came. His wife got cancer. She died. He moved to Appalachia and tried to forget. Connecticut also appears on a terminal in Fallout 4. A man named Lance Ames was stuck on a freeway there when the bombs dropped. The freeway probably still has cars on it. Skeletons in the driver's seats, forever waiting for traffic to move. Rhode. Island does not exist in any record I have. Found. Sorry. Next, Massachusetts is the Commonwealth. Boston, the setting for everything that happened in 2287. Boston never took a direct hit, but weeks after the war, one bomb did land. Southwest of the city, created the glowing sea, the most irradiated place in the Commonwealth. The bomb was likely aimed at the CIT but missed. Lucky for the Institute, hidden underground. Unlucky for everyone else. The city is ruins but not empty. Diamond City, built inside Fenway Park. Good Neighbor in the old Memory Den neighborhood. Bunker Hill as a trading post. 3 pillars of commerce in a city full of super mutants and raiders. The Brotherhood came in 2287 with the Pridwin. The Institute creates synths underground. The railroad fights to free them. The Minutemen try to protect settlements. Everyone has a vision for the Commonwealth's future. Nobody can agree on what it should look like. The weather is wrong there. Radiation altered the climate. Rad storms sweep across the region regularly. The glowing sea poisons everything around it. Mutated creatures are everywhere. The Commonwealth is barely livable, but people make it work because the alternative is death. If this story has kept you listening this far, and you want more of these dark confessions from the Wasteland, hit that subscribe button. It tells me someone out there is still paying attention to warnings like these. Abbey of the Rhode sits somewhere in western Massachusetts, a Christian monastery. One of their missionaries, Marcella, was found in Point Lookout. Faith survived the apocalypse. Not everywhere, not for everyone, but it survived. New Hampshire exists only as half a company name, H&M, New Hampshire and Massachusetts Freight Railroad. They operated before the war, probably still have rail lines rusting across both states. Nobody uses them now, travel by foot or by caravan. The rails belong to the rust and the rats. Vermont is gone, erased, no mentions anywhere. Maine is the island, Far Harbor, Mount Desert Island. The whole place is blanketed in radioactive fog, every species mutated severely. Trappers, anglers, fog crawlers, things that should not exist. Far Harbor town survives with fog condensers keeping the radiation back. Acadia, a colony of escaped synths, helps maintain them. The children of Atom worship the radiation. They see it as divine. Vim was made in Maine. A soft drink that never quite competed with Nuka-Cola, but Maine loved it anyway. They wanted to make it the state drink. Then the world ended, and now the factory is a raider den. Small tragedies wrapped inside the big one. Ohio sits right across the river from West Virginia. You can see it from the collapsed North Road Bridge. The real-world Silver Memorial Bridge connected Point Pleasant to Gallipolis, Ohio. In the Fallout world, that bridge is gone, collapsed. But Ohio is still there on the other side. Initiate Norland came from Ohio. His parents worked in government before the war. When he learned about the Brotherhood and what they were doing to preserve the world, he left home to join up. That tells you Ohio has communities, families, government structures, or whatever passes for government now. Cincinnati had a family get abducted by aliens. The mothership Zeta DLC has a holotape of them. They seem excited about the whole thing, which is insane, but people process trauma in strange ways. The raider punk at the crater mentioned Ohio when telling someone to become an alien sacrifice. Dark humor, the only kind that works anymore. Clamo Bob in New Vegas talks about Klamath. Good old Klamath, he says. Not a bad place if you like hunting, eating, and skinning geckos all day. That is Oregon, but he mentions it in a way that suggests the hunting lifestyle exists in other places too. Ohio has settlements. Carver Timberman lives in one in what used to be Kentucky. The borders do not mean what they used to, but people still use the old names. It helps them remember. Kentucky is where Carver Timberman's family moved after the war. Small settlements, survivor communities. Sophie Wagner grew up there in a commune. 24 siblings, lots of parents, everyone raising the kids together. She wanted to see more of the world, so she moved to Appalachia. That is Kentucky, quiet, communal, not claimed by any major faction, just people trying to build something that resembles a family. The company that made suppressors in Fallout 4 and 76 was headquartered in Liberty, Kentucky. That means Liberty existed as a town, had factories, had workers. Then the bombs fell, and I do not know if anyone there made it to a vault or a shelter. I do not know if Liberty still stands, or if it is just another name on a long list of places that died on October 23, 2077. Michigan has Detroit. The Motor City. A pre-war movie mentions Manzilla versus Roborilla, featuring a robot made from 8,000 tons of Detroit steel and American ingenuity. That tells you Detroit was still an industrial powerhouse in 2077, still making things, still proud of its steel. I do not know what the bombs did to Detroit. I do not know if the factories still stand, or if they melted into slag. But I know that somewhere in the ruins, there might still be robot parts, still be steel, still be evidence of what America used to build before it learned to destroy. Indiana is blank, nothing. Another state erased from memory or perhaps just ignored by history. 30 states have minimal or no information. That should terrify you more than the ones we know about. The silence suggests death on a scale we cannot comprehend. Illinois is different. Chicago is the setting for fallout tactics. The Midwest Brotherhood crashed there when their airship went down. They established a new chapter, went rogue, cut contact with the West Coast. Scribe Jameson mentions the Brotherhood battling super mutants in Chicago for decades. Head scribe Rothschild calls them a small detachment, off the radar, gone rogue. The Enclave had an outpost there too. Eddie the Eyebot went there for repairs. A boy named Tommy and his family held him. Chicago itself was nearly completely destroyed in the Great War. The survivors live in small tribal villages near the ruins. Peoria, halfway between Chicago and St. Louis, is just ruins, with a primitive village inhabited by the Wutu tribe. Springfield thrives though, a proper town with humans and ghouls contributing to the Midwest Brotherhood's war machine. Quincy, built on the ruins of Quincy, Illinois, is another mixed settlement under Brotherhood protection. They were threatened by the Beast Lords until the Brotherhood stepped in. Freeport became a raider den. They hoarded fossil fuels. The Brotherhood destroyed it in 2197. Tactical decision. Strategic necessity. Murder by another name. Missouri has St. Louis, or what is left of it. Ruins plagued by super mutants, raider gangs, and beast lords. The Midwest Brotherhood fought horrific battles there. Jefferson City, the state capital, is also ruins. In Fallout Tactics, a super mutant facility operates there. A scientist named Urol trying to find a cure for mutant sterility. The Master's dream never died. It just moved to Missouri and kept. Going in secret, Iowa gets a single mention, Dr. Constance. Nichols wrote about deciding to stay at the National Isolated Radio Array in Appalachia instead of going home to Iowa for Thanksgiving. That is it. One scientist who chose work over family. I wonder if she regretted that choice when the bombs fell. I wonder if anyone in Iowa survived to miss her. Minnesota is nothing. Wisconsin is nothing. 2 more states swallowed by silence. Kansas has Junction City, an independent mid-sized town with its own security force. They refused to ally with the Midwest Brotherhood. Then a religious cult called the Reavers started attacking them. The town asked the Brotherhood for help. Pride swallowed. Survival prioritized. Coldwater is another Kansas town, famous for casinos, inhabited by humans and ghouls. Around 2198, a gang called the Red Stingers stole Brotherhood equipment and took over the town. The Brotherhood sent a squad to eliminate them and retrieve the stolen property. They succeeded. The civilians caught in the crossfire were acceptable losses. Great Bend was an industrial city, attacked by the Calculator's robot army. Nearly everyone died. The Brotherhood retook it, but never repopulated it. An empty city. A dead city. A city that serves as a monument to a computer's madness. Nebraska has Lincoln. Brotherhood scribes sent encrypted radio broadcasts trying to locate the first expeditionary force. They estimated the force was near Lincoln. Whether they found them, I do not know. Whether anyone in Lincoln was alive to see Brotherhood soldiers march through their streets, I do not know. Nebraska is question marks and static. South Dakota appears once. McCready in Fallout 4 mentions a warehouse there while clearing out storage in Goodneighbor. Strange things turn up in warehouses, he says. Ever hear about that warehouse in South Dakota? Then he trails off. I looked for follow-up information. I found nothing. Whatever was in that warehouse in South Dakota, McCready knows, and McCready is not telling. Some secrets stay buried. North Dakota does not exist in any record. Another blank space. Another silent grave. Hawaii is mentioned on kiosks in the Museum of History, an annexed territory in the mid-Pacific. The United States took Hawaii in the 19th century. A terminal in Fallout 4 mentions Thomas Davis being deployed to war, his ship leaving from Hawaii in 2076. That tells you Pearl Harbor, or another naval base, was still operational right up until the end. Whether Hawaii got hit by Chinese missiles, I do not know. Whether the islands survived, I do not know. They are out there in the Pacific, thousands of miles from the mainland. Maybe they made it. Maybe they built something new. Or maybe the ocean swallowed them, and nobody on the mainland knows or cares. I have walked across this country. I have seen the ruins of what we used to be. 50 states reduced to fragments and memories. Some thriving under brutal regimes, some struggling to survive one more day, some completely erased as if they never existed at all. The new California Republic controls most of California and parts of Nevada. They have laws and democracy and taxes and all the things the old world had. They are trying to rebuild America. The problem is they are rebuilding all of it, including the corruption and the bureaucracy and the endless wars over resources. Caesar's Legion controls Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Colorado and Utah. 87 tribes conquered and assimilated. They have stability and safety and order. The cost is freedom. The cost is individuality. The cost is everything that makes you human beyond your utility to the state. The Brotherhood of Steel is scattered across the wasteland. Montana, Illinois, Texas, California, Massachusetts, West Virginia. Different chapters with different goals. Some want to preserve technology. Some want to protect humanity. Some just want power. They are all that remains of the United States military. That should comfort you. It does not comfort me. The Enclave is broken. Their oil rig destroyed. Their leadership dead. Raven Rock demolished. Adams Air Force Base in ruins. But the Enclave does not die easily. Remnants still exist. Old soldiers with old grudges and advanced technology. They believe they are the true continuation of the American government. They believe everyone else is an aberration to be purged. Genocidal fascists with power armor. The Wasteland has not seen the last of them. And everywhere, in every state, in every settlement, there are people. Farmers and traders and doctors and teachers. Raiders and slavers and murderers and cannibals. Ghouls trying to live in a world that fears them. Super mutants looking for purpose after the master failed. Synths discovering what it means to be alive. Regular people making impossible choices every single day. October 23rd, 2077. That is when the world ended. 4 hours of nuclear exchange. 2 hours according to some accounts. The exact timeline is confused and contradictory. What matters is that by noon Eastern Time, civilization was over. The president had already fled to an oil rig weeks before. The Enclave hid in their bunkers. Vault-Tec sealed their experiments inside underground tombs. Robert House shot down missiles over Vegas. Everyone else burned. The who and why of it haunts me. Did China fire first in desperation? Did the United States launch preemptively? Did Vault-Tec start it all to fulfill their own prophecy? Did aliens trigger it for unknowable reasons? Tim Kaine, one of the original creators, said China launched first as retaliation for American bioweapon experiments. But the new TV series suggests Vault-Tec. The evidence is fragmentary. The truth is buried under 200 years of lies and radiation. What I know for certain is this. At 9:13 a.m. Eastern Time on October 23rd, the Integrated Operational Nuclear Detection System detected probable launches. At 9:26 a.m., the president ordered retaliatory strikes under scenario MXCN91. At 9:42 a.m., nuclear weapons hit Pennsylvania and New York. By 9:47 a.m., facilities were going offline across the country. The Chinese submarine Yangtze 31 launched its missiles at the East Coast. Los Angeles burned. Washington, D.C. burned. Boston, Philadelphia, New York, all of them burning. The world ended in fire and we are still living in the ashes. I am tired of carrying this weight. I am tired of knowing what happened to every corner of this broken country. I am tired of the silence where states used to be. I am tired of the success stories built on mountains of corpses. I am tired of factions fighting over the ruins instead of building something new. But I cannot stop. I cannot put this knowledge down and walk away. Because someone has to remember. Someone has to know what we lost. Someone has to catalogue the ruins and name the dead and tell the stories of the places that do not exist anymore. Alabama and Arkansas and Delaware and Indiana and Minnesota and North Dakota and Rhode Island and Vermont and Wisconsin. States with no stories. Millions of people with no memorials. They lived. They died. History forgot them. I will not. This is my testimony. This is my confession. This is my warning. The Wasteland is not a grand adventure. It is not a game. It is 200 years of suffering compressed into a landscape that actively tries to kill you. The factions are not heroes and villains. They are desperate people making terrible choices because all the good options died in 2077. If you want to survive out here, you need to understand what happened. You need to know the history. You need to learn from the mistakes that turned the world into glass and ash. You need to remember that every raider used to be someone's child. Every ghoul used to have a face they recognized in the mirror. Every super mutant used to be human. Every skeleton you find in the ruins used to have a name and a life and dreams that never came true. The Wasteland does not care about your survival. But I do. That is why I am telling you this. That is why I documented every state. That is why I am leaving this recording behind, so that someone, somewhere, might listen, might understand, might learn. The bombs fell, the world ended, but we are still here, broken and irradiated and barely human sometimes, but still here, still trying, still hoping, still building small lights in an ocean of darkness. That has to count for something. That has to mean something. Even if history forgets, even if the Wasteland erases everything we build, even if 200 years from now, someone finds this recording and wonders what happened to every state in America, I hope they get a better answer than the one I have to give. The answer is this: we destroyed ourselves, We saw the end coming and we fired the missiles anyway. We had every chance to choose differently and we chose annihilation. 50 states, 300 million people, all of it gone in 4 hours. And now we live in the ruins of that choice, forever.